हरि ओम। ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री हिरण्यगर्भाय नमः। ओम श्री महाविष्णवे नमः। ओम श्री महादेवाय नमः। ओम श्री महादुर्गाये नमः। ओम श्री राम रामाय नमः। ओम श्री सद्गुरवे नमः। ओम समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामय नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। शङ्करं परमानन्दं ब्रह्मनिष्ठं यतीश्वरम् भाष्यभ्रान्तिहरं वन्दे शुद्धज्ञानैकबोधकम्। ओम नमः शिवाय। 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 नमः पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव। हरि ओम हरि ओम। We'll begin with the Shanti mantra. Om Apyayantu Mamangani. Oh, sorry. The other Shanti mantra. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyemakshaviryajatraha Sthirairangai Stuštuvagam Sastanobhi Veshema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddhashavaha Swasti na Pusha Vishvavedaha Swasti nastaksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brahaspatir Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. We shall chant from the first mantra of the fourth section. Atha hayanam savyayani garyah papracha Bhagavan etasmin purushe kani swapante kani asmin jagrati katara esha deva swapnan pashyati kasya etat sukham bhavati kasmin no sarve sampratishtita bhavanti iti tasmai sa hovacha yatha gargya marichayo अर्कस्यान्तं अर्कस्यास्तं गच्छतः सर्वा एतस्मिन् तेजोमण्डले एके भवन्ति ता पुनः पुनरुदयतः प्रचरन्त्येवम् अवै तत्सर्वं परे देवे मनसि एकी भवति तेन तर्हेष पुरुषो न शृणोति न पश्यति न जिघ्रति न रसयते न स्पृशते नाभिवदते नादत्ते नानन्दयते न विसृजते नियायते स्वपिति इति आचक्षते. So Gargya, the grandson of Surya, he asked this question. In this person, who all go to sleep and who remains awake and who sees the dream and for whom is this happiness and where are all this fixed, where are all this established, in what? So Tasmai Sahuvacha, to him the teacher answers. He gives an example that just like the sun, lots of rays come out of the sun, and as the sun sets, the rays are withdrawn and they remain in the sun, in the orb of the sun. In the same way, the senses which are perceiving this world as though the rays of the sun, that self which comes out through the mind, through the senses, perceives this world. And when we go to sleep, all these senses are withdrawn into the mind. And the mind gets absorbed in that Supreme Self. And then, just like when the sun rises, again the rays comes out. Similarly, the mind rises and all the senses there get projected, and again one becomes aware of the world around. But when the senses are absorbed within, then this person doesn't see anything. Tarhi esha purusho na shrunoti. The seer doesn't see because the eyes are withdrawn. The seer is still there. Seer doesn't disappear. But the eyes are not there. Therefore, you cannot see. The ears are not there. Therefore, you cannot hear. So, Purusho na shunoti, na pashyati, na jighrati. The nose is withdrawn, so he cannot smell. The tongue or the sense of taste is withdrawn, therefore he cannot taste anything. Similarly, cannot touch anything, cannot speak, cannot hold anything, doesn't get the pleasure, doesn't excrete, doesn't move around. And people say that he is asleep. So this sleep is a very interesting experience which we have. So we have these three states of experience, the Jagrat, the Swapna, and the Sushupti. So what happens in the Sushupti Avastha, or what happens when the senses and the mind is withdrawn? Who remains awake, or what remains awake? That is being said now in the next mantra, mantra number 3. Let us chant. प्राणाग्नय एव एतस्मिन् पुरे जागृति गार्हपत्यो हवा एषो अपानः व्यानो अन्वाहार्य पचनो यद्गार्हपत्यात् प्रणीयते प्रणयनात् आह्वनीयः प्राणः. प्राणाग्नय एव एतस्मिन् पुरे जागृति गार्हपत्यो हवा एषो अपानो व्यानो अन्वाहार्य पचनो यद्गार्हपत्यात् प्रणीयते प्रणयनात् आहवनीयः प्राणः. So the teacher says कि प्राणाग्नय एव एतस्मिन् पुरे जागृति. When the senses have gone to sleep, and even when the antakarana has gone to sleep, in this body, only the pranas remain awake. The pranas are like fire. So the fire of the pranas, the 5 expression of the prana apan, vyan, udan and saman, they remain awake. Means they continue to perform their respective functions. And that is quite amazing. Even when we are in deep sleep, in dreamless sleep, the breathing continues to happen. The circulation and digestion continues to happen. The pranas continue to perform their respective functions. And because of that only, the body remains alive. The body doesn't die when we are asleep. See, when one dies, then the pranas are also withdrawn from the body. Therefore, the body disintegrates and get destroyed. But when we are in deep sleep, the body doesn't get disintegrated. The pranas continue to maintain the body. There is no sense of I, there is no seeing, hearing, tasting, touching happening. There are no thinking, there is no memory, there is no understanding happening, because all the faculties are also asleep. But the pranas continue to function. That is the most amazing. Because when we are awake and when the breathing is happening, we say, I am breathing, I am walking, I am talking. Though all these functions happen because of prana. And pranas, they function independently. The pranas do not depend on the mind, the intellect, the senses to function. Because we know the pranas The prana is the Shakti of that Ishvara only. So Ishvara alone keeps the prana functioning. So pranas are identified or they are compared to fire. In our Shastra, the Grahastha in the Grahastha there is what is called the fire sacrifice, which takes place regularly. A dharmic Grahasti who follows the Sanatan Dharma performs rituals with fire regularly. So there are the different fires which are kept to perform different types of ritual. There is one fire which is kept burning in the house all the time. That is called Garhapatya. Garhapatya Agni, which is lit and kept burning constantly in the house. It is never put off. And when morning, evening, the Grahasti wants to perform the ritual, the Agnihotra, the karma and all, then he takes the fire from this Garhapatya and he kindles that, takes that fire, and in that fire, the offering is made. So the fire from the Garhapatya is taken and put in a yajna kunda, and in that the ritual of Agnihotra karma is done. The ahutis are offered. So since this fire is brought from the Garhapatya, it is called Ahavaniya fire. Ahavaniya, because it is brought from there. So here the teacher explains the whole thing with the help of this simile of fire. So just as a dharmic grahasti performs this ritual regularly, similarly, automatically this ritual as though is happening in this body. And for a person who is the knower of that Supreme Self, a Vidwan, the life itself is happening like a ritual, like a yajna. Just like in Bhagavad Gita also Bhagwan says that for a jnani, everything is yajna only. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, Brahmagno, Brahmanahutam, Brahmaevatena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. That everything the jnani sees as Brahma only. So the one who is performing the ritual, the fire, the ahutis which are offered, the instrument with which the ahutis are offered, that karma and the result, everything is Brahma. So hence this comparison is made here of these pranas with fire. But just observing and contemplating and thinking about it, we know we might not have that direct experience when we are in deep sleep. We are unaware of what is happening in this body, what is happening outside. But when we look at a person who is asleep, the body is lying down there on the bed. Person has gone into deep sleep, but the body continues to breathe. And if we touch the body, it is warm. And all the, not only the breathing, but also the circulation of the blood take place. The digestion happens. And if the person is not in deep sleep but is dreaming, then the mind is also kept active by this prana shakti only. So pranas remain awake all the time. So here the teacher says that this Garhapatya Agni is like apana. The apana vayu is like Garhapatya. And the prana, which helps in our breathing, we breathe in and out because of prana. And apana is that power by which we excrete, we throw away things out of this body for excretion, for urination. This apana vayu is used. So this prana, that breathing, it as though gets the power from this apana only. When we breathe in and when we breathe out, it gets the power from this apana. So therefore, it is as though the agni from this apana is brought into the prana and the ritual of breathing happens. Therefore, the apana is indicated as Garhapatya Agni, which always remains. And from that Garhapatya Agni, as though that Agni is brought up, and through our nostril we then breathe. We breathe in and breathe out. So since this Shakti is brought from that apana, that prana is indicated or is compared to the Ahavaniya Agni. So Garhapatyo hava esha apanaha. So Garhapatya is apanaha. Vyano anvaharya pachano. Yat Garhapatya praniyate pranayanat ahavaniya pranaha. And prana is ahavaniya agni. And one more, that vyana is there, which pervades the entire body. That vyana as though comes out from the right side of our heart. Shankaracharya writes, कि व्यानः तु हृदयात् दक्षिण शुशिरद्वारेण निर्गमात् दक्षिण दिक् संबंधात् अन्वाहार्य पचनो दक्षिणाग्निः. So that vyana, which comes out of the heart from the right side of the heart and then spreads all over the body, Since it comes from the right side, right is called Dakshin. So it is compared to Dakshinagni. It is another Agni which is kept by the householder. It's called Dakshinagni, or it is also called Anvaha Pachanaha. Anvaha Pachana Agni. These are the three main Agni which is kept by a householder in the house. So Garhapatya, then Ahavaniya, and Harhapachana, and Varhapachana, and Varhapachana. In short, if we don't use all these technical terms, what the teacher is conveying is that when we are in deep sleep, the Pancha Pranas, they remain awake and they continue to perform their respective functions. So the teacher explained three Agnis, the Apana, Vyana, and Prana. Now what about Samana and Udana? That is now explained in the next mantra, mantra number 4. Let us chant. Yat uchvasa nishvaso etau ahuti samamnayati iti sa samanaha manohavava yajamanaha ishtafalam eva udanaha sa enam yajamanam ahar ahar brahma gamayati. Again. Yad uchvasa nishvaso etau ahuti samamnayati iti sa samanaha manohavava yajamanaha ishtafalam eva udanaha sa enam yajamanam ahar ahar brahma gamayati. Continues with that metaphor of pranas as fire. So there is this Garhapatya Agni, then Ahavaniya, and Anvaha Pachanaha or Dakshinagni. Then there is this Samana Vayu is there, and that Samana Vayu is compared to the Ritvik, to the Purohit who performs the Yajna. Samana Vayu is like the Purohit who performs the Yajna. And in a Yajna there is a Yajaman. So the mind is like a Yajaman. And when we perform the karma, we get the result. So what is the result? The Udana Vayu is the result. So let us see what is said here. Why Samana is compared to a Hota, a Purohit. Ki yad uchvasa nishvaso etau ahuti samamnayati iti sa samanaha. See, Saman Vayu is in the center. Saman Vayu balances the Apana as well as the Prana. And because of that Saman Vayu, only the breathing happens. We breathe in and breathe out continuously because of the balance created by that Samana. And therefore, here the Saman is compared to this Purohit who also continuously offers Ahuti in the fire. See, when we perform a yajna, we chant mantras and offer ahuti in the fire. So here, constant that breathing which happens, yad uchvasa nishvasa etau ahuti, the constant breathing which is happening, breathing in, breathing out, is like the ahutis which are offered. And this samana, because of its power, that this breathing and all happens, and whatever digestion takes place, that is also supplied to the entire body. So the samana is like the purohit performing this ritual of offering. So samana, Shankaracharya writes, कि यद यस्मात् उच्छ्वास निश्वासो अग्निहोत्र आहुति इव. The breathing in and breathing out is like the ahuti of Agnihotra. The Agnihotra karma which is done by a grahasti, the ahutis are offered constantly. So breathing in, breathing out is like the ahutis. Nityam dvit samanyat eva to etau ahuti samam samena sharira sthiti bhavaya nayati यो वायुः अग्निस्थानीयोऽपि होता च आहुत्यो नेतृत्वात् कोसौ स समानः. And this samana vayu, which is like a which leads, which helps in this breathing, and it keeps the body also alive because of this breathing, is like the hota, the one who is performing this ritual. So even when we are in deep sleep, the breathing continues to happen. And because of this breathing, the body continues to survive. The most amazing. It is happening spontaneously, happening without our conscious attention on it when we are in deep sleep. Even during the waking and all, the breathing happens automatically. But when we become aware of it, or when we do pranayam and all, we interfere with the breathing. Our thoughts, our desires, our emotions, they interfere with the breathing. When we are frightened and all, we breathe very heavily. When we are sad, we breathe differently. When we are happy, we breathe differently. When we are excited, we breathe differently. So emotions, they affect the breathing. But when we are in deep sleep, the breathing happens in its natural flow. You must have seen little children also. When they are awake, they run around here and there. They cannot sit at one place. But when they are asleep, the body is also totally relaxed and the breathing takes place very spontaneously, naturally, rhythmically, most beautifully. So this constant breathing in and breathing out is like a ritual being performed by this hota. And who is he? He is samana. So ko asau sa samanaha. Yatascha vidushaha swapo api agnihotra havanam eva. So for a wise person, even when he is asleep, this havan keeps on happening. Tasmad vidvan na akarmi iti evam mantavyah iti abhiprayah. Therefore, a vidwan, a wise person, should not be considered as not performing any karma. His very life, his very living is like a constant ritual which is happening. For an ignorant person also, when the ignorant person is asleep, the breathing happens. But an ignorant person identifies, when he is awake, he identifies with the body, mind, and thinks that I am the doer. So, for an ignorant person, all actions they lead to bondage only. But for a wise person who knows that I am not the doer, all this is happening because of the Prakriti only. Prakritev Prakriteveha karmani. I mean, all these karmas, all these actions are happening because of Prakriti only. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says that guna guneshu vartante iti matvana sajjate. The wise person knows that the gunas of the Prakriti play with the gunas of the Prakriti. I am not doing anything. Naiva kinchit karomi iti yukto manyeta tat pravita. So, manohavava yajamanaha. So when the hota is performing when the purohit is performing the ritual, and this ritual is happening, who is the yajman? See, when we perform a puja, when we perform a yajna, there is this purohit who does all the ritual, and we sit there as yajman. Whatever he tells us to do, we do. He tells us to take our name, our gotra. He tells us to offer flowers or do whatever other ritual. We keep doing it. So the Purohit is performing the karma, but he is performing on our behalf. We take the sankalpa, and once the ritual is performed, we offer dakshina to the Purohit. So though the ritual is performed by the Purohit, we as the Yajman gets the result. The Purohit doesn't get the result. The Yajman gets the result. The mantras are chanted by the Purohit. All the various upchars are done by the Purohit. The Yajman just sits there and touches whatever is required or offers flowers and all, or offers the ahuti. But the results comes to the Yajman. So who is the Yajman here? So the teacher says, Manohavava Yajamanaha. The mana, mind is the Yajman. Mind is the Yajman. Shankaracharya writes, कि अत्र हि जाग्रत्सु प्राणाग्निषु उपसंहृत्य बाह्यकरणानि विषयांश्च अग्निहोत्रफलम् इव स्वर्गं ब्रह्म जिगमिषुः मनोहवाव यजमानः जागर्ति. The mind itself in the waking, also the mind is awake. It interacts with the world outside. It handles the sense organs. And when the sense organs are withdrawn, the sense organs no longer function. When we are dreaming, the sense organs are withdrawn into the mind, but the mind remains awake. In the dream, the mind remains awake. So mind is like a yajman. He remains awake, and the ritual is happening. And why the mind is awake? Because it wants the result. It wants to attain the higher world. Yajman jagarti yajamanavat कार्यकरणेषु प्राधान्येन संव्यवहारात् स्वर्गमिव ब्रह्म प्रति प्रस्थितत्वात् यजमानो मनः कल्प्यते. So mind handles both interacts with the world outside and handles the senses and remains awake in the swapna with a desire to go to the higher world. Therefore, the mind is indicated here as Yajman. See, the whole thing, if you can contemplate, you will understand the beauty of this beautiful metaphor. So, when we perform the ritual, then we get a result. So, what is the result? So, Ishtaphalam eva udanaha. The Ishtaphala, the desired result which we get, is the Udana Vayu. The Udana Vayu is compared to the Ishtaphala. Why it is compared to Ishtaphala? And how does we gain this Ishtaphala from the Udana Vayu? How does the Yajman gain this Ishtaphala, desired result from the Udan? He says, the teacher says, कि स एनम यजमानम अहर अहर ब्रह्म गमयति. So beautiful. He says this Udana Vayu takes the mind to Brahmalok, to Brahma. Ahar ahar, every day when we go to sleep, we remain awake in our dream. The mind remains awake in the dream. And even the dream is withdrawn and the mind is taken to Brahma. By whom? By this Udana Vayu. Okay. Let us now contemplate on this beautiful metaphor which is given here. So the apana, we have this pancha pranas, pran, apan, vyan, udan and saman. So apan is like the garhapatya, fire. Prana, where the breathing and all happens, is like the ahavaniya agni. Then the vyana is like the dakshina agni. And samana is like the hota, the one who is performing the ritual. Because constant that ahuti is offered as though through breathing in and breathing out. And mind is the yajman. And udana is the result of this karma. And this result we gain in Brahma, the mind, the Yajman, gains this result in Brahma, becoming one with Brahma. And who takes the mind to Brahma? The Udan. The result takes us to our destination. I hope you are understanding this whole metaphor. See, when we are awake, our senses, they function, they interact with the world outside. But when we lie down to go to sleep, our senses get withdrawn into the mind. But the mind continues to remain awake. Means the mind continues to function, that we call dream. But later on, the mind also gets withdrawn and we go into deep sleep. So, where does the mind get withdrawn? The mind gets withdrawn into that supreme self, that supreme reality, Brahma. And who takes the mind to that Brahma? The Udan. See, we have seen in the previous mantras also that the Udan Vayu, it moves in the Sushumna Nadi. The Sushumna Nadi is there, it's the central Nadi in which the Udan Vayu moves. And it handles the activities of the mind, of the Antakkaran. So when that energy is supplied by the Udana Vayu, the mind is able to think, to function, to contemplate. But when that energy is withdrawn from the mind, then the mind goes into its own source. And that source is that Brahma. When we are in deep sleep, our senses, our mind are withdrawn into that Brahma alone. Just as the example of that sun was given. So from that sun only all the rays come out. When we look at the sun in the evening, the rays are as though withdrawn into that orb of that sun, and the sun sets. So where does all the ray and where does that orb disappear? Into the sun. And from the sun only the orb comes out, and from that the rays comes out. So that Brahma is like the sun, that orb is like the mind. All the senses are like the rays which illumine the world around. So when we are dreaming, the mind is active, but that mind is also withdrawn when we are in deep sleep. So in deep sleep, one remains as Brahma. The mind doesn't create any disturbance because the mind gets withdrawn into that Brahma. So ahar Brahma gamayati. Again and again, every day, the mind is led into that supreme Brahma. So here, the teacher is indicating the very support. Later on, it will describe in more detail. But here, it indicates the very support of everything as that supreme Brahma. So in waking, we experience the duality, that I am here, this world is here. In dream also we experience duality. But in deep sleep, all the duality disappears and I remain as Brahma, and the mind, senses, everything is absorbed into me. So ahar ahar Brahma Ramayati. So when one is in deep sleep, what happens? Or before that, when we are dreaming, that dream is now described in the next mantra. See, who is seeing the dream? Who is the seer of the dream? See, remember the questions which are asked by the student. The teacher is replying to each and every of those questions. So the first question was, who all go to sleep and who remains awake? So senses, the mind also goes to sleep, but the pranas remain awake. Another question is ki Katara Esha Deva Swapnan Pashyati, which Devta sees the dream? And what exactly is the dream? So that is being now answered in the next mantra. So let us chant. Tasmai Sahovacha Yatha Gargya Marichayah Arkasya Astam Gachatah Sarva etasmin tejo mandale eki bhavanti ta punah punarudayatah. Oh, sorry. The fifth mantra. I chanted the second mantra by mistake. Let us chant the fifth mantra. Atra esha deva swapne mahimanam anubhavati yad drishtam anupashyati shrutam shrutameva artham anushrunoti desha digantarayश्च pratyanubhutam punah punah pratyanubhavati drishtam cha drishtam cha shrutam cha shrutam cha anubhutam cha anubhutam cha satcha asatcha sarvam pashyati sarvah pashyati. Atra esha deva swapne mahimanam anubhavati. When one, when the senses are withdrawn from the waking world, when the senses get withdrawn from the waking world, they are withdrawn into the mind, into the antakarana. And the antakarana remains awake. So the mind is awake. And this mind sees the dream. The mind, Devata, is seeing the dream. Atra esha deva swapne mahimanam anubhavati. Here, this Devata is this mind, sees its own glory in the dream. Means whatever samskars are there, whatever vasanas are there in the mind, they alone get projected and we experience that as a dream. So atra esha deva swapne mahimanam anubhavati. So what all one sees in the dream, the teacher gives the detail here. He says, Yad drishtam anupashyati. Ki whatever one has seen in the waking, that creates a samskar, and that alone we see in our dream. Shrutam eva artham anushrunoti, and whatever one has heard, that which was heard in the waking, is again heard in the dream. Desha digantarascha pratyanubhutam punah punah pratyanubhavati, and whatever one has experienced in different worlds or different places, that we experience again in the dream. Drashtancha adrashtancha, we see what was seen before, but sometimes we see that which was not seen also. And we hear what was heard, but we also hear that which was not heard before. See, even if we have not seen, but if we have thought about something in our waking, then we can see it in our dream. We might not have heard directly, but if we have thought about some sound or some hearing, that we can hear in our dream. Also, ashrutam, I mean, anubhutam cha ananubhutam, that which is experienced. That which is experienced, even mentally, if we have experienced something in our waking, that we again see in our dream. We might not have done something directly, like jumping from a plane with a parachute, the parachute jumping, we might not have done, we might not have experienced. But even if we imagine it in our waking, we can experience it as though we are actually jumping in our dream. And ananubhutam, that which is not even imagined in our waking, but which we have imagined or we have experienced in our previous lifetime. Not in this lifetime, but we have experienced something in our previous lifetime. That also we can see and experience in our dream. Satya asatya. Sat means that which is sat, that which is existing, that which is directly experienced. Like we see the waters of the river, we can see it in our dream. But suppose I have seen mirage water, false water. Mirage water, actually there is no water, but it appears like water. So it is not truly water. It is just pratibhasik sat. It's just apparent reality. So even if one has experienced some apparent reality, one can experience it again in dream. So satya asatya sarvam pashyati, everything is seen in our dream. And how everything is seen? Sarvaha pashyati. But the mind actually becomes everything and sees everything. The whole dream world is a projection of our mind. It becomes everything and sees everything. So let me give some example. For example, we speak on the phone. I dial the number of my friend and speak to my friend who has gone abroad, who is very far away. So the friend picks up the phone and we have a long conversation. I can hear the voice of my friend, and my friend also can hear my voice. But my voice, actual voice, cannot reach there. He is very, very far away. So what happens? My voice gets converted into some sort of electronic waves and all, and passes through all the system, all the wires, and reaches my friend, and it gets reconverted into similar voice, and he hears it. So what he is hearing is actually not my voice, but it is a voice similar to my voice created by the electronics, if this is understood. Whatever samskars we have collected in our mind, suppose I have seen an elephant during the day, it creates a samskar in my mind. And when I go to sleep, I dream of that same similar elephant. Now, from where that elephant has come, the mind, through its own material, created that elephant. In the waking, actually, there is an elephant outside. But in dream, the mind itself creates the elephant which is seen. So it's very interesting. More about this we will see in our class on Monday. And a few announcements. Tomorrow I am having a special talk organized by Advaita Academy, Indica Moksha. The details I have given on my Facebook page. So tomorrow evening 7 to 8, I will speak on the topic Pursuit of Happiness, a Vedantic perspective. Then again on 17th and 18th, that is on Friday and Saturday, 17th and 18th May, Friday and Saturday, I will be speaking on the Bhagavad Gita in the evening 4 to 5:15 at Ramana Kendra, New Delhi. So those who are living in New Delhi, you can come and attend these classes. And we will continue with this Prashna Upanishad on Monday. So till then, you take care, be happy, safe, peaceful, healthy, do your work, do your sadhana. Listen to the pravachan again, contemplate, and we meet again soon. Hari Om. Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. 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 Jaya Jaya Ram. Jaya Jaya Ram. Bole Siyavar Ramachandra Bhagwan ki Jai. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.